Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was part of the Avengers. Naruto left the elemental nations and wound up in a world where flying metal man, magic, and gods exist. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 94, Anton Vanko's Cellmate. Stark Expo, New York. June 2, 2010, 21:05 H local. Bruce. What the hell, man? You left me at Culver. Eric was the first to respond, still casually carrying his sniper rifle. Don't blame me. Blame the other guy. Bruce replied before a gust of wind caused him to shiver. Anyone got a change of clothes? I got some. Naruto said from out of nowhere, which part of the course for him. Catch. He tossed a plastic bag to Bruce. Bruce caught it clumsily using only one hand. He can't exactly take his hands off his loose pants. Thanks. I'll be over there. Bruce awkwardly points to where the outdoor units of the air conditioners were. You guys do what you do. He added before shuffling away. Nice guy. A little low on self-esteem though. Naruto commented before pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket and walking towards Eric. Nice job. Here's your pay. He then got a little closer and whispered something. Wait for the message from Chala. Eric took the envelope and nodded. He took another look around and started to disassemble his rifle. Okay. One business down, I know I owe some of you favors. Naruto started. I don't even know why I bothered. You guys should deal with this anyway. He added as a whisper. So, what now? Everybody just stared at him weirdly for a moment. Come on, don't make this all awkward now. The last part made Steve's patience crack. You let us deal with those things. You could have ended that with a snap. A lot of people died. People that could have lived. Steve shouted what others were thinking while threateningly approaching Naruto. The difference was, they knew Naruto better. Steve grabbed Naruto's shirt and lifted him up. Tell me why. What were you doing? Naruto just remained nonchalant even with a super soldier lifting him high in the air. He just stared Steve dead in the eye with one eyebrow lifted. However, it didn't take long before someone else reacted, and not in the way Steve expected. Put him down. Eric said while pointing his pistol at Steve's head. You sure you want to do that, kid? Steve asked with a serious tone without removing his eyes from Naruto. Naruto, for his part, was now flashing an amused grin. First of all, I'm pretty sure we're at the same age, Cap. You don't age when you're on ice. Eric started. Secondly, I don't really need to do this. I'm not doing this because you may hurt him, but because he'll kill you. Without blinking an eye. Seriously. He'll just substitute you with a clone. It's true. Naruto piped in. You want to know why? I can give you the truth, or I can give you a more practical reply. You hear the man. He'll answer, so out him down slowly. Eric said while taking a few steps back. Steve, for his part, suddenly let go of Naruto, causing him to fall back to the ground. Naruto made a show of fixing his jacket and dusting himself off. I want to say that it's just too easy if I was more involved. But that answer is obviously not to your liking, so I'll just tell you the thing you might accept. Naruto pulled a knife and easily carved the word Avengers on the ground. Like I said to her. He pointed to the masked Natasha. Best friend. This whole thing is an unsolicited favor to Fury. You know who that is. The one-eyed pirate. I don't know who that is. Bruce asked as he rejoined the group. Just think of him as the king of spies. Bruce nodded, but he's still mostly unsure. Anyway, that. Naruto tossed his blade towards the word Avengers on the ground. Is Fury's endgame? Bringing a group of people to deal with the world-ending scenarios. So this really is a test run. Tony let out. More like a proof of concept, but you get the point. Naruto could feel the increasing hostility from Steve, so he continued. I could just let everything play out. A lot more people could have died. At least that way I don't have a guy shouting to my face like the moral high ground matters. That took some wind out of Steve's metaphorical sails. Don't get me wrong. I didn't do this out of the goodness of my heart. I just need to make sure that when Fury comes knocking, you'll at least be able to work well enough to do your jobs. Another Naruto appeared behind him with something covered with a black fabric on his shoulder. And to make sure my girl doesn't get stuck with the job of herding cats. That's sweet, I guess. Jessica commented. Just imagine reeling in an ego-filled super genius, a super soldier from the 40s with a holier-than-thou attitude, and an awkward scientist with record-breaking anger issues. You'll get what I'm saying. Naruto answered with a shrug. The clone removed the fabric and placed the woman on the ground before disappearing. Betty! Bruce exclaimed while moving towards the unconscious Betty Ross. Passed out from the Hirosaki, but otherwise, she's fine. Naruto told Bruce. Of course he lied when he said that. He knocked Betty after she decided to join Bruce. Where are you off to? Keep in mind she basically said she'll go wherever you go. Or you could just wait for her to come to. Natasha weighed in. But that's boring. No, that's responsible. You're no fun. Naruto pouted. You had enough fun today. Natasha and Jessica said at the same time. Dr. Banner. Tony called out before his faceplate folded up. If you want, I have something to work on that's just a little outside your ballpark. Even got a safe house upstate you could hole up in. That got Bruce's attention. Just the right time too, as Betty was starting to wake up. The first thing she saw when she woke up was Bruce looking at her with a worried expression. She took a quick look around and was astonished at what's happening around her. There's the crazy blonde guy, 4 ninjas, a soldier, and 2 Iron Man. Br. Bruce. A little explanation, please. Betty shakily asked. I don't know. Bruce kissed the top of Betty's head. I'm just riding along on the ride myself. Elizabeth Ross. No need to introduce myself, of course. Tony said as an introduction. I heard you wear the pants in this relationship. Ugh. I'm too tired to say it again. Just do the pitch yourself, Green Bean. Natasha's Safe House, New York. June 3, 2010, 0500H local. Stark made his pitch and the pair quickly accepted the proposition. The chance to research a new energy source like the Starknium or Bodacium was right up their alley. The unique biological interaction of the energy released by the new element was also an interest of study. Now while Tony was discussing terms with the scientists, Naruto started paying his debts. Steve didn't want to cash in on the favor, as I'm not going to take something in exchange for doing what's right. It's a good thing Peggy has some sense in her and decided to just bank both hers and Steve's tabs. They both left right after the exchange. Tony finally found an end to the thing he always wanted. Something Naruto wouldn't even let him have. Chakra metal. Naruto basically pledged a ton of the stuff, including the chakra alteration of it which consumed Rhodey's favor, to Tony. Now Tony could do some serious shit with an indestructible metal with customizable properties in his hands. Naruto just knew there would be a lot of sleepless nights coming with that one. Not to mention Pepper's angry face chewing the fuck out of Tony and Naruto as collateral. Nat and Jess decided to copy Peggy's lead and hold on to their favors. It's not like Naruto would deny them anything. It was the day after what the media dubbed as the New York Rumble, and Naruto, Nat, and Jess were having a well-earned day off when one of Naruto's clones from across the globe popped and delivered some vital information. Information Naruto couldn't believe he didn't know. That's what he get for respecting privacy. What a stupid idea. Naruto decided to look into it more while the girls were still asleep. He summoned a clone and quickly dismissed it, sending the order across the network. Natasha's Safe House, New York. June 3, 2010, 0710H local. 2 hours was more than enough time for Naruto to uncover some secrets. Like big fucking secrets. Even Naruto was surprised how the fucker was able to stay off the radar. Who says shield files were reliable? That's what get with not looking up or in the middle of the ocean. What got you stressed out? Jess asked, seeing Naruto's blank look in front of the stove. I want to wait for Nat to come out of the shower before I answer. I don't want to repeat myself. Naruto replied before flipping the omelets. He's cooking 3 omelets while waiting for the toasts. Ugh. A heavy talk? Can't we just push it off like the day after tomorrow? I'm still wiped out. Jess groaned out. I can, but Nat wouldn't appreciate it. I wouldn't appreciate what? Nat asked as she walked into the kitchen. She still has a towel on her hair to dry it off. Perfect. You're here. Naruto transferred the omelets to individual plates and placed them on the kitchen island. The toasts also made it on time as it dinged off not long after. Talk before eating, eating before talking, or talking while eating. We can multitask. Nat answered while pouring milk in 3 glasses. So what's this thing you want me to hear? Yeah. I'm curious too. Jess placed the utensils on top of a napkin. Well, I was looking into Ivan Vanko to make sure there were no loose ends. Standard after job protocol. You have a protocol? Jess interjected, clearly surprised. Yes. Naruto replied before continuing. I kinda went on a deep dive on Vanko to make sure. Of course, I look into Vanko Sr. He took a bite from the omelet. Vanko Sr. got a 20-year stint at a gulag from 67 to 87, but got thrown in again from 98 to 03. He died in 2009, but that's not important. What's important is who was his cellmate in his 5-year sentence. Who was it? Jess asked in between bites. I want to play a game with Nat. See if she gets it. Here are the clues. 1. The years he's in prison 98 to 03. 2nd. He's thrown into a gulag in Siberia. 3. He's a high-value prisoner with some exceptional abilities. Any clue who was Vanko's cellmate? Nat was a smart girl, smarter than most gives her credit. However, no matter how smart someone was, some information would slip by the memory, and Natasha has a lot of it. In her long career, she knows a lot of individuals who were disappeared in one of Russia's infamous gulags. But Naruto wouldn't be stressed if it was someone from Nat's jobs. Hell, he'll be enjoying the shit out of it. So, she concluded that it would be more personal, which narrows it down a lot. By a lot, it means it only leaves one person, since she makes it a habit to make everything not personal. You've got to be shitting me. Nat cursed with as much emotion as she could convey. Who is it? Come on. I'm out of the loop. Jess exclaimed. Nat released a breath before answering. Alexei Shostakov. The Red Guardian. USSR's super soldier. My adoptive father. Chapter 95, Parker on Call. Natasha's Safe House, New York. June 3, 2010, 0720H local. Alexei Shostakov. The Red Guardian. USSR's super soldier. My adoptive father. Natasha's answer caused Jess's jaw to drop. I taught you grew up in the Red Room. Yes and no. Natasha's reply caused Jess's brow to crease. I was in the Red Room for as long as I remember, but for a brief time from 92 to 95, I was part of a deep cover in Ohio. That's where Alexei became my adoptive father. So, do you have an adoptive mother? Yes. A sister too. Where are they now? Your mother and sister, I mean. Melina got shot during our escape at the end of the mission. I think she died. Nat released a breath. My sister, Yelena, was an orphan. A completely blank slate. I left her, or rather we were separated, but I made sure to stay away. Never looking for her. I can't risk messing up her life. Her eyes were already tearing up by the end of it. Jess got out of her chair and hugged her. But that's not why we're here. She turned towards Naruto. You wouldn't talk about Alexei like this without something deeper. I was going to that. Naruto walked towards the center table and picked up a laptop before returning to the kitchen island. I never did a deep dive on your shield files. I only read the basics cause I don't want to come across as a stalker. He typed in the laptop for a few seconds before turning it around. I never quite knew how you folded into shield, but a quick talk with Alexei cleared up some stuff. You talked with my father. Natasha exclaimed in shock. Less talk and more like hypnotized to talk. Only had 2 hours to get all of this information, so I had to speed it up. Naruto clarified. I might be the best, but I can't stretch time without preparation. Ignoring the thing about time. Why are you interested in my induction test? Because you're not as successful as you think. Naruto pressed entered on the laptop, playing a video. Alexei can be seen sitting on a chair inside a dark room with only a single light shining on his face. Something you would expect from a cliché interrogation scene. One thing to take note though was the blank look on Alexei's face. Hey, man. So can you repeat to me what you just said? Naruto's voice can be heard from behind the camera. I have never really met Captain America. I just want for my comrades to. No. The other thing. About the Red Room. Naruto interrupted. Dreykov managed to keep the Red Room alive. Even after my girl's impressive attempt to end the bastard. Nat's scrunched eyebrow was all the reaction discernible from the my girl comment. Dreykov went underground after Natasha's attempt. I barely hear any whispers anymore. So, what do you know? Dreykov made another super soldier, someone better than me, as hard to believe that is. As for finding Dreykov himself, I only know of one person who can do it. My swift fox. Melina. Mama Melina's alive? Natasha let out. Naruto promptly paused the video. I thought she didn't made it. Is that good news or bad news? Jess asked. Natasha just stared intently at the screen for a moment before answering. I don't know. Welp. Naruto exclaimed. If you can't decide on that one, you'll be a lot more sure on this one. He added before playing the video again. It's just a shame that Dreykov started using the mind control stuff from the North Institute. Natasha can't help but recall the daring escape from Ohio. Yelena should be able to do her job and be proud of it. Naruto closed the laptop and observed Nat's reaction. Natasha felt her insides drop. It's the only reason why she hadn't kept a tab on Yelena. She can't risk for Dreykov to find her sister. After she killed, or rather, failed to kill Dreykov, she just wanted for Yelena to have a normal life. Staying away from her seems like the right thing to do. Now, it just looks like she's fooling herself. Naruto. Natasha started in a serious tone. I never begged before. I will fight, seduce, or manipulate to get what I want. So you should know how serious I am when I say. Please help me find and save my sister. Jess just kept her arms around Nat. She's not as close or distant, depending on how you look at it, to her sister as Nat was, but she knows that she'll do just about anything to save Trish. Naruto smiled and pulled something out of his back pocket. He placed it on the table, revealing a thin yellow folder with the emblem of Black Widow in front. Come on. You don't even have to ask, much less beg. Naruto opened the folder. The first page was a long-distance photo of Melina Vostokov on an isolated farm tending to some pigs. I suggest starting with her, or you could give a visit to your dad. He might just be bitter enough to take down Dreykov with you. Like a family outing. Your choice. Stark Apartment, New York. June 3, 2010, 0900H local. The Stark New York apartment, aka Stark 3-floor penthouse suite, was the temporary residence of the family for the East Coast. This one of Tony's properties peppered across the world. This one, in particular, could be considered as a safe house, as this was registered under a holding company owned by one of his aliases. As to why they're using this apartment rather than use the newly renovated mansion upstate, it's just that they'll be closer to both the Expo and the Stark Tower construction. Pepper couldn't help but release a sigh of relief when she saw Tony eating cereal with Morgan. Yesterday's debacle made her worry so much. She made a point not to watch the news last night. Tony only came home and went to bed when Pepper was already in bed, though not yet asleep. She was only able to fall asleep when she felt Tony settle beside her. So when she woke up without Tony on the bed, she can't help but made to think of the worst possible scenario. It still weirds me out when I see you eat cereal. Pepper said after releasing she didn't know she was holding. I know. I'm disgusted with myself. Tony replied sarcastically with an exaggerated shiver. Oh, stop it. Pepper kissed Tony on the lip and Morgan on the crown of her head before sitting beside Morgan. So, Morgan? What do you want to do today? Can we watch Wall-E? Morgan asked with wide puppy dog eyes. Again? Why don't we watch something else? Tony countered with exaggerated movements. But Daddy. Wall-E's cool. He's just like Dummy, Butterfingers, and you. Please? I can't argue with that logic. Tony commented with a shrug. Let's just finish our breakfast, huh, princess? Yes. During the short exchange between Morgan and her husband, Pepper managed to make herself a salad for breakfast. The family continued with the light conversation while adults were deftly ignoring last night's events and knowingly pushing off their responsibilities later in the day. It's a good thing Pepper already tasked the PR and law departments to head off any possible backlash. They'd been given one simple instruction: pile everything on Hammer and Ross. Morgan and Tony were just waiting for Pepper to finish her salad when Jarvis spoke up. Sir, you have a phone call. I thought we agreed that you'll field all calls? Of course, sir. But this call came from one of your personal numbers. Jarvis replied. This one, in particular, is dedicated to Mr. Uzumaki. Uzumaki. Naruto? He never used that number before. He just pops out like a pimple. It's not Mr. Uzumaki. A woman named May Parker is the one who's calling. She claims that Mr. Uzumaki gave her that number. Now, that's odd. Ignoring the fact that Naruto just gave his number away nilly-willy, what could be the reason for him to do it? There's a lot of scenarios running through his head, from something as stupid as a prank to world-ending events. Like May Parker may be a cliché supervillain or something. Put her on the speaker, will you? Tony ordered, causing Pepper to raise her eyebrow in curiosity. Yes, sir. After a short pause, an adult voice spoke up a little hesitantly. Hello. I'm May Parker. A friend of yours named Naruto gave me this number. I'm looking for Mr. Stark. Well, you reached him. Now, why is a virtual stranger calling me on this lovely morning after a very hectic night? Tony replied with his public persona/voice. He said to call this number if my kid, and I quote, as smart as I think he is. May released an audible. I'm gonna level with you. I don't like you before. I'm on the fence now. But you're my kid's #1 hero. I firmly believe that my kid is going to change the world and loathe me to admit it, but he'll reach his dreams if you're involved in any way. Tony, for all intents and purposes, was the richest man alive. That means there were not many people not close to him who would talk to him that way. The last stranger who did that ended up being his wife. So there's a part of him screaming to just listen. He made eye contact with Pepper, asking for advice, but all she gave him was a small shrug and an amused smirk. Give the kid's name. Tony could yell that May was hesitating, but she eventually gave the name. Peter. Peter Parker. Stay on the line. I'll give him a quick check. On second thought. I'll just call you. Tony didn't wait for a reply before ordering Jarvis to hang up and compile a data packet for one Peter Parker. Come on, let's watch an interracial robot movie while JARV does all the work. Tony. Pepper scolded, a little mortified with Tony's weirdly on-point description. She helped Morgan to the ground before walking towards the living room with Tony not far behind. He made sure to clean up the table and place the dishes in the dishwasher. Do you want to do it, baby? Yes. Morgan exclaimed excitedly. JARV. Can you play Wall-E, please? It would be my pleasure, little miss. The 80-inch UHD TV lowered from the ceiling while the mirrors darkened and the lights dimmed. The movie played right after the TV was set. Tony sat down beside Morgan sandwiching the princess. He reached for Pepper's shoulder and pulled her closer, cuddling both of his girls. What did you think was Naruto thinking? Pepper asked a few minutes into the movie. She made sure to lower her voice as to not disturb Morgan. Something he will laugh about, I guess. You know the guy. Yup. The family just enjoyed being with each other until the movie ended. It ended at the right time as Pepper would have enough time to prepare for lunch. Tony decided to look into the kid in the meantime. He decided to do it on the table so he can look over at Morgan while she's coloring on the Stark pad. Tony knocked on the table, causing a holographic screen and keyboard to appear. It's time for a show and tell, buddy. Tony said out loud. Peter Parker, 9 years old. Born to doctors Richard and Mary Parker, deceased. Tony's eyes widened hearing the name. The Parker's death was one of the tragedies of the scientific community, particularly in the field of biology. They were making some major headways into gene splicing before their plane crashed. His current legal guardians are Ben and May Parker. Richard and Ben Parkers were brothers. Currently enrolled in the 5th grade at John Colgate. He has an impressive academic record. Nothing lower than A other than mandatory physical education and art class. I should say that there are multiple recommendations for skipping grades, but the Parkers wanted Peter to remain with his peers. Tony was reading the compiled file while Jarvis continued with his explanation. There were also some public access photos of the kid and the Parkers. One photo, or rather video, in particular, that got his attention came from the onboard camera of a hammer drone armor. No way. Tony breathes out. Come on, Pep, take a look at this. Pepper came over and looked at the screen. It showed a kid in an Iron Man mask and toy repulsor aiming for a hammer drone. The drone was about to blow the kid away with a tank cannon before Tony swooped down and took down the drone. That's the Peter Parker. Tony paused right after the armor flew away. There's a short stretch of silence with Pepper just staring at a still of the kid aiming the toy repulsor at the drone. She can't also help but also look out the school picture of Peter Parker and mentally note how much a young Tony and Peter look alike. They were so alike that she might just fool herself into thinking that Peter was Tony's son. Peps? Honey? You got your work cut out for you, Pepper said after shaking herself. Tony can't shake the feeling that his smart and intuitive wife just predicted his future. JARV. Call back May Parker, would you? Dialing now. And I just had a great vacation. I hope you guys had a great holiday season. Omake. Tony Stark as President I. There were only 2 times in Tony's life that he felt completely out of control: the year after his parents' death, and his 3-month vacation in Afghanistan. This doesn't mean he's out of control right now like he's on a freefall. It feels more like using a parachute. He's still going down, but at least he could steer. How did it come to this? Tony let out with dread in his voice. I know I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I don't deserve this. Don't over-exaggerate, and it's your fault really. Pepper replied through the comms. No. It's drunk Tony's fault. He just had to run his mouth with a camera on. Tony exaggeratedly countered. He's currently disconnecting the building from the grid. Isn't there a law somewhere preventing a close relationship between a presidential candidate and the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company? Not from what legal can find. Pepper answered while looking at the building plans. I know we talked about this, but why don't you just withdraw? That's the kicker. Tony really wanted to withdraw multiple times, since this thing is such a time commitment. However, Stearns and his factions attempt to get a hold of his armor, and Ellis's half-hearted attempt to prevent this after he kept the weapon division open to help the people, he decided to just do more. To be more. That's where it all started, a drunken rant, and now he's running for president as an independent candidate, which seemed like a good idea at the time, not so much now as the work was starting to pile up now. Anyway, is the power looking? Levels are holding steady. Sir. Jarvis interjected. Agent Coulson is being held by your Secret Service detail. He says it's a matter of national security. Correction. World security. I'm still unavailable. How does it look? Pepper asked with a bit of worry. Like Christmas with a little more me. I'm afraid he's insisting. A formal request from S.H.I.E.L.D. has been filed to the Secret Service. Special Agent Dawson and Haggerty are escorting Agent Coulson to the suite. Jarvis interjected again. Shouldn't he be talking to the president, not Tony, if it's about national security? Pepper asked rhetorically. Besides, I'm out not in. Tony added while his armor was removed automatically while walking towards the penthouse. The elevator dinged at the same time as he entered the room. The door opened, revealing Agent Coulson, while being flanked by his designated Secret Service security agent. Phil. I'm happy to see you, but couldn't this have waited until tomorrow? Pepper greeted while hugging him. Yup. Consultation time is Thursday every other week 4 to 5 p.m. Tony sarcastically added. I'm sorry, but this can't wait. Phil answered apologetically while handing over a data pack. Tony didn't even try to reach for the computer, so Pepper took it and placed it in his hands. He opened it, causing a holographic summary of the Avengers initiative. I thought this was scrapped? Tony asked out loud. We have a legitimate threat for an alien invasion. It's all hands on deck. We need everything we can muster. Then bring it to the White House. I don't see what I can do with this. We need Iron Man. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.